For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise. And you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. We all know somebody who overshares on Facebook, and that's what we're going to be talking about again on the show. I've got a rant about a relative. It's starting right after this.
This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secret to losing 3 to 5 pounds a week without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt RX. For the last 2 decades, we've helped countless people lose thousands of pounds. And now, it's your turn. Learn how to lose weight with one simple phone call and no prescription needed. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a risk-free money-back guarantee. So, if you're ready to start losing weight, call right now and get a free month supply with your first order of Body Sculpt RX. Call now. You have nothing to lose but the pounds. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. 800-459-6838. That's 800-459-6838.
Listen up, guys. Are you experiencing any of the following? Fatigue, less drive, poor performance? If so, you may be one of the nearly 30 million men in the U.S. today dealing with ED. But did you know you don't have to pay hundreds for a prescription anymore? And you don't have to deal with the hassle of seeing the doctor or the embarrassment of going to the pharmacy for a certain pill. Now with one free call, you can find out how Herbal Virility Max can help you feel like a man again. For over a decade, Herbal Virility Max has helped guys just like you put a smile back on their face with improved performance and drive. Call today and ask about our buy one, get one free offer. Save the money, save the hassles, and get the better blue pill. Dial 800-578-0179. That's 800-578-0179. 800-578-0179.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. So last week's episode, where I reflected on all of my years on the radio and syndicated radio, that was pre-taped a while ago. But if you recall, 2 weeks ago, I was in Florida because of a storm that was about to hit my hometown. We decided to flee the country, basically, in Canada and go to Florida just to enjoy some nice weather. And while I was away, see, this is where people always say that at a vacation is time for you to unplug and get away. You know full well, most people, I'm not saying everybody, most people are Instagramming pictures from the beach the second that they're there or by the pool or whatever the hell they're doing on vacation. So they can always say that, oh, I got to unplug, I got bullshit that you did, all right? I'm going to call BS on that right away. So let's be clear, that's my first argument. But for me in my life, in my reality, nobody really heard from me aside from, now I'm going to put a disclaimer in case anybody goes searching and sees. I did it as a joke while I was away posting pictures of myself on a boat and on the water and whatever, because I was making the joke at, hey, I escaped the weather. How's it going, all you back at home, right? So they're totally different in my situation there, okay? Now, I'll also admit that when it comes to quote-unquote vacations, I haven't had one in, I don't even know how long, because we traveled so much with the radio shows that I didn't need to travel. I actually don't know how to travel and just relax when I go somewhere, because I'm so used to it being, okay, you got to be in the lobby for 8:30. We're getting in the car. We're going and taping this segment at 9:30, or there's breakfast for you. You know, breakfast will be at your hotel. I don't even order my own food when we go and do those things. So let me just preface it with that. So that's how controlled my days were when we were doing travel tourism programming, okay? So fast forward now to 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks, whatever it was, when I was in Florida, that this was our time to just be away. And I gotta tell you, when I use the term unplug, I mean that with an asterisk, because I was still working. I was still taping our entertainment headline show. So, I mean, I was still working. But when I say unplug, I mean from the daily bullshit that you see on Facebook, from, you know, and truthfully, if I had a stopwatch and I had to clock how much time I spent on Facebook in a day, it truly is, no word of a lie, no exaggeration, not downplaying it, whatever the word you want to use, my time on Facebook is less than 5 minutes in a day. Instagram, it can be even days. Now, the reason that I have those accounts is because of my job, because of my career and what I've had to do, right? So from, and typically, let me tell you, when we have our entertainment headlines that I tweet out every day, whatever, that's not even me doing it. Those are scheduled the night before, and then they come out in the morning. I'm still sleeping when those tweets go out. Let me just give you that spoiler. So anyway, so when I'm in Florida, I tune out from everybody's life. My new word lately, by the way, is kvetching, right? Kvetching, meaning bitching, complaining, whining. It was just so nice. And I have long said that I don't expect people to give two shits about what I'm doing every minute of the day. I really don't think that people care, and I don't want them to. I want you to live your own life and have your own experiences. Do your own things. I'm not, people would go and say, well, you're a celebrity. Because no, I've never even, not even, yes, I've got a best-selling book. Yes, I was on the radio and heard by like 300,000 people. I'm still the guy who buys, I'm wearing clearance sweats from Walmart. So I have never subscribed to that whole, I'll joke about best-selling author, whatever, but no, that is not. I am just, the regular guy who likes to hide out and have his privacy. That's totally my life. So when I'm away and I don't know what's playing out, I mean, I was sort of keeping tabs on home just because there's a storm that could potentially, damage my property, things like that. Sure, I kept an ear open, right? I mean, I had my parents stopping by my house every once in a while. I'm not going to ignore that because that's my property and they're doing me a favor, right? Saying, I wasn't completely off the grid, right? So that's what I'm saying. I was still tuned in for work, whatever. But I wasn't, my husband and I, and he's a fitness model and not just an Instagram model. I mean, we book him in, magazines and different photo shoots. We can go for 4, 5 hours, 6, 7, 8 hours without having a phone in our hand at all. Truthfully, yes, we can. And that's just something that's so refreshing about our lives, and I'm kind of getting off track now here, but when we met years ago, that he literally, we actually had a fight one of the first times that we were together because he would not stop scrolling Instagram, even when we were sitting and talking. And I was like, this is our first time meeting. And within, an hour of meeting me and sitting here, you're, on Instagram with these people, like that you talk to every day. How about focusing some attention and time with me? Anyway, that's all resolved now. Fast forward years later. So when we travel, it's great. And this could just be, a road trip to the cottage or whatever the hell it is. But when we travel like that, it's perfect because we both have that mindset of, I don't want to listen to the bullshit in the world. I don't want to, go onto Twitter and see the politics and the mudslinging and the name calling and the racism and the sexism and the this and that and whatever. We could just go and experience life, right? And so I get home. This is now back to the point of the story. I'm kind of getting on track now, 6 minutes into this segment. But I come back, right? And then you kind of need to do that download, right? You kind of need to sort of check in with, hey, what did I miss? And I'm not talking work stuff. I'm talking about, the family you left behind, the friends, the people, who weathered the storm, literally weathered the storm in this instance. So I'm doing that. I'm catching up with people. And some of that was just by texting, right? Because I don't need to have a conversation because, hey, did you make it out okay? Okay, good. Any property damage or, everybody's good, right? I mean, that's okay. Now, if there was an issue, I would pick up the phone and we'd have that phone call, right? But if you're just texting me, no, we're good. I'm fine with that. That's all I needed to know. That was my concern. I'm not going to bother you. I've been through blizzards in Canada before, so I don't need to get the play-by-play of, the wind was crazy, because, we've all done that. That's just a Canadian thing, let's be honest. So one of the situations when I get back is I have a relative, and we all have that one person on Facebook, who everything is always, woe is me, the world is against me, I never catch a break, and really just has those pity parties all the time. And the point of those posts, as you've probably figured out by now, is to get that, condolence isn't the right word, sympathy, the remorse, the support, what are all the other synonyms for, you get what I'm saying. So it didn't surprise me that this relative goes on a rant about the heating cost going up. And, this relative is on government assistance and allegedly can't work, refuses to work from the stories that I'm told by this person's immediate family, because it's not even necessarily about family gossip. It's just kind of like, well, we know the reality. So when we see that person posting and complaining and crying and whining and, oh, woe is me, the world's against me, everybody hates me. Not everybody hates me. The world is against me. And, we all, family members, kind of take that with a grain of salt and go, oh, we don't even look, we don't pay attention. So it's fascinating the times where I do take a few moments to scroll on social media and then see that, is it just a coincidence that family members aren't chiming in whenever he goes on these rants? Is that, or is it that the family kind of already knows how this person is and just doesn't even give it the time of day? That's actually what it is. And so when you look at these posts, they get very few likes or hearts or whatever the hell it is on Facebook. And the people who chime in going, oh, well, things will turn around for you soon. And, oh, I'll be thinking about you, or just stick it out. I mean, what 30-some-year-old really needs that? If you need that, you need to get emotionally stable. And by doing that, you need to, here's where we use that word unplugged, you need to unplug, you need to talk to somebody, you need to get therapy, counseling, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. I am not saying you're a head case, you better talk to a there's nothing wrong with seeing a professional to get help like that. When it comes to your mental health, absolutely, go for it, do it. That's, okay, I'm not mocking anybody. I'm not mocking anybody who would go and see a therapist. I'm not at all. Let me make that clear. And so I decided to reply when I saw this rant about this person who's collecting disability, refuses to work, blah, blah. I know that he's been fired from a bunch of jobs because he doesn't like taking direction from people. He's got an attitude. He's constantly posting profanity-laced posts that are ranting about something. During the Olympics, he had a shit fit because the TV guide on the PVR, DVR thing was set to be curling at such and such time, and his big rant was, oh, fuck you, TV network, I just wanted to wake up, enjoy my tea, and watch curling, and you can't even get your shit together, whatever. So here's the person who talks about having a bad heart, he's allegedly had heart attacks, has depression, anxiety, whatever, but then lets the slightest thing like TV listings push him over the edge. So this is where you take that step back and you go and say, why would he have heart troubles? Why would he have? Because you let something that is so trivial, when you look at what's going on in the world. If I were to show that to somebody who is fleeing Ukraine and say, do you feel bad for this motherfucker? What do you think they're going to say? Do you think that one of those refugees is going to say, oh my God, he didn't get to watch curling? Yeah, that would piss me off too. Fuck that, ladies and gentlemen. And truthfully, it's, so when you see something that petty, it's once that threshold, once you've passed that point, once you've hit that mark of pettiness and childishness and again, any of those words you can think of, you can't take that back. Once I have seen you be that stupid, you can't take it back. Now, that's how I'm going to view you now. That is, you now have the reputation of being that unhinged, that stupid, that moronic, whatever. I'm not even here to name call, but just, you get what I'm saying, is that was the roughest part of your day. Was it? Was it really? So he comments about the price of heat going up. Now, let's be honest, that's happening to everybody. It's not like you've got the company just targeting you, living in poverty, collecting, your government handouts. And so when he went and said that, he was basically putting it out there into the, world, into the internet, into social media. How am I supposed to get by? How am I supposed to make these kinds of And so all I replied was, lucrative work from home opportunity. And he laughed at that. Now, to me, that was significant and symbolic because, again, the family members all know that this is somebody who does not want to work, and we've essentially heard that. So when I go and challenge it, and then to get laughed at, and I said, what? I mean, plenty of people have been able to, sit on their couch with their laptop, which, I mean, I know that that's what you do because you're watching, you take pictures of The Price is Right on the TV and you post them on Facebook and you comment on it. You take pictures of the TV when sports are on and you comment on it. So that's what you're doing all day. And so I just said, there's plenty of people that can work with their laptop or their phone and make a shit ton of money. I mean, that's just what it is. So then he goes and says, this is where he incriminates himself and says, well, anything that we make, him and his wife, anything that we make would just be deducted from our disability, so that would be a wash. Aha! So what you're saying is you are capable of working. You're capable of working. You're choosing not to. You're choosing to get the easy money and not provide for yourself. Not be a man. Be a parent. Be a husband. Be a grown-up. You're choosing to get the handout. That right there, folks, is somebody who is indirectly admitting they're capable of working, just don't want to. And so when somebody like that, and I'm going to use the phrase abusing the system, taking advantage of the system, you have to look, you have to take that step back and go, I don't feel sorry for you, bub. Not one bit. I don't. And nobody else does, aside from the 3 of your friends who are chiming in. The rest of the family is seeing your post. And by the way, I would say that probably, I don't know exactly how many, there's a significant portion of family members and relatives that have blocked this person or have him muted so they can't even see what he's posting because they don't want to. Because it's always F-bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb. I heard this from my parents, by the way, at Christmas as well. My dad kind of went on a rant about this guy. Anyway, so when you go and say that it would be deducted and it would be a wash, then that's on you choosing to not work, okay? So, now, I was about to offer my assistance and say, I have been paid to write an opinion every week in the newspaper for almost 19 years. And I often write that from my bathtub. Now, I think they confuse the word job and work. Job they view as threatening, right? Because then you're going to have that boss, you're going to have to answer to somebody's going to tell you what to do, you're not going to like it, you're going to get fired because you can't shut your mouth, you flap your lips, and it's just going to be unemployment line again. Work, though, is something that's different. Let me define work and what I mean by work from home opportunity. We have a coffee company. My husband and I have a coffee company. I don't know the first thing about coffee. Do you know how that coffee company is run? From a cell phone in my bathtub on Saturdays and the odd time during the week every now and then. So that's not a job per se in the sense that I'm working for somebody. I view that as it's just me working. Okay? That's not threatening, right? So if they were to be open-minded, which clearly they're not, because it would be a wash any money they make, but what's wrong with you kind of supporting yourself? You've got a child as well. So they've ruled that out altogether, written it off. And then they're complaining about finances. So it starts this blowout with his friends chiming in saying that I'm being rude to the disabled and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I haven't actually seen this cousin in person for quite some time, but there are reports that, and when I say that, it's basically come from a family source, so I'm not going to throw them under a bus by naming them, but a family source has said that this person is ballooned up to probably close to about 400 pounds and really doesn't get off the couch and doesn't move much. Now, you have to realize that this relative, the person in question, the 400-pounder, is said to be just, in poor health and this and that. Well, I'm sorry. That doesn't, when you can take pictures of all the food you're ordering and having delivered, or the restaurants that are, the new restaurants you're trying and things like that, then how can you then go and say, and by the way, the wife the next morning after this whole hubbub went and said something about, it's exciting that Wendy's now has a breakfast menu. So when you talk about your finances and how that's, people are, again, you're not going to get sympathy from people who are like, wait a second, but your wife is like dining out, like, why don't you buy your own groceries and do things like that? Because when the wife goes grocery shopping, she mistakenly leaves her purse at home and has other people buy the groceries for them. So that's also one thing that has leaked around the family. Anyway, we got to go already because I went on too long. Anyway, so the bottom line is, I then engaged in a debate, which is what this person enjoys. They like being challenged. They like being stirring up shit and causing trouble. Last year, he came out as pansexual and revealed to me in a conversation, or through Facebook messaging, and then we had a conversation later in the year, that he and the wife are kind of like swingers. He used the term something to the effect of, who doesn't like sucking a dick, or sometimes you just want to suck a dick every now and then. And I'm sitting there going, I don't really have those close conversations with my family members, so it's very odd for somebody just to kind of come out and say that. And he revealed to me later that when he told the family, he was wanting conflict. He was wanting people to challenge him. So, you kind of look at you look at it from all sides, where it's like, wait, I've got a bad heart, I've got depression, I was hospitalized, you're stressing me out by confronting me or challenging my remarks. But then it's like, but you put it out there on social media. So unless you're wanting, and you're only allowing people who agree with you, which obviously is typical. One of my friends was a psychology major, and so I sent him this whole thread, and he's like, yeah, that's somebody who's basically just wanting that reinforcement from people, wanting that positive reassurance, and doesn't want to hear otherwise. And so the more people that rally around him and back him up and give him those positive words of encouragement, suddenly JB here is the bad guy, right? I'm the one who's picking on the frail 400-pound man who doesn't, take care of his family and his obligations. So I was willing to, before this went all sideways and people were coming at me, I was actually willing to have a conversation with him and say, look, I can help you kind of figure out, you go on these rants, you have these opinions, you do all these things. Why don't you start a blog? Why don't you start commentating? Why don't you just write some things and then send them out to newspapers or different websites, and maybe somebody will pick you up and pay you for this opinion? I was about to start offering up advice and suggestions. That's not getting necessarily a job, quote unquote, which is almost a 4-letter word for them, but it's still working, right? Same thing with a coffee line. There's so many different ways that you can set up, a drop shipping store, or you can sell your crap on eBay. And now I'm not saying to start evading the government and not pay taxes and blah, 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 but there's ways that you can make money on the side that it doesn't need to be reported, right? I mean, same thing like if you have a yard sale or whatever. I mean, does the government want you to technically claim the $40 you made? Perhaps. Are they going to miss it if you don't? Probably not. So there's things like that. But to rule it out, to flat out say, no, not working, not going. And then the wife is coming at me going, well, if you don't mind me asking, how do you know that it's a choice that he's not working? He just said that it's a choice. In a roundabout way of saying, oh, anything that we make would be a wash. He could have answered and said, well, I'm not capable of working. Oh, I'm not. Nah, bullshit. You can sit and rant on Facebook and woe is me and take pictures of your TV. They don't even have an entertainment unit, by the way. The TV sits on the floor. If you can sit and take pictures of your TV and comment about The Price is Right and the Wendy's menu and curling and yell at cable networks, you can write an opinion column and submit that and get paid every week from a newspaper. I mean, that's all I'm saying. So it was fascinating that he once again played the victim when I came up against him. The mob mentality, as social media is, comes after me. And I'm just sitting there going, I'm way too good for this. Like this, I don't usually have that sort of moment where I'm like, that's beneath me. You're trash. I'm going to let you do that. But in that moment, where you've got somebody who's saying, you're asking for advice. How will I get by and pay my heating bill? And I'm kind of starting that conversation by saying, hey, a work from home opportunity. I didn't say get a job. I said a work from home opportunity. You could work from home from your couch. That was what I said. They hear that as threatening as me saying, get a job, freeloading loser. And after all this played out, get a job, you fucking freeloading loser. I will say that. Because I'm not saying that I'm the best entrepreneur in the world, but at the same time, I also know that I don't like working for somebody. I don't mind taking direction, but I like to be in charge. I like to make those decisions. So if we relate on that mentality or mindset when it comes to work, then being an entrepreneur is exactly what you should do. I mean, that's the next logical step then, is be your own boss. Make your own stuff. Make your own work. Write. Create. Build. Do something. But if you're just going to kvetch all day on Facebook and woe is me, my life sucks, I've got bad health and nobody, blah, blah, well, piss on you. When I had a conversation with him last summer and I'm hearing that he's going to bathhouses and trying to fuck some women who fall asleep and he's got to be safe because he doesn't want to take money and get robbed, but the woman falls asleep before they do anything, I'm sitting there going, are you paying for hookers? So if you're on the government dime, technically I'm your employer, if you're on the government dime and you're going to fucking sex houses and banging hookers, I kind of do have a right to say how you're spending your money. I'm sorry. I kind of do. I'm paying for your hookers. I'm paying for the trash that you're involved in. So, all I'm saying, now this is where people are going to go and say like, wow, my God, he's just unloading on somebody who's disabled, blah, blah. I'm unloading on somebody who's choosing to be a social parasite and not make anything of their life. Let me be clear on this, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'm unloading on. There's a way that you can support yourself. I know I've worked with women back in the newspaper business years and years ago. There was a woman who was almost a quadriplegic. There was a woman who was she could barely move in her wheelchair. But you know what? She had a job and she was slugging it out. Did she need help from people from time to time? Absolutely. We all do. She needed help a little bit more than others did. But you know what? She got mad respect from her coworkers. That woman got mad respect. If she was struggling, to get the door open or to keep the door open long enough that she could, you had people almost literally running to help her because they saw her hustle. And that's what I'm saying is you can sit and whine and bitch and kvetch. And let me just take it back to the start of this conversation where I said Florida, removing myself from life and kind of then coming back and seeing, you really do kind of get that appreciation for your time away from everything. And so to then go and see just somebody and instead of going, you're going to complain about your heating bill going up $30 or whatever the hell it is a month or this or that. But I know that you pay to go to a bathhouse to have sex with people. I know that you guys eat out like there's no tomorrow. I know that you're spending your money on garbage and shit like that. That's where I have the issue. Now, I could have taken this 17 steps further on the social media battle before I was ultimately blocked, by the way. I could have taken it and got real personal and started saying all those things. Well, excuse me, name of cousin, maybe fewer trips to the sex house, maybe not dining out as much. But I didn't. I just kept it on, people make a choice. And, these are the choices that you make in life. If you haven't taken care of your health, you've eaten shit and garbage and not exercised and all that for years and years and years, you've now ballooned up to 400 pounds and you can't walk and your legs are swelling, whatever. It wasn't always that way. And so it's what you've brought on yourself. You've done it to yourself. We had the discussion years ago when my dad was smoking and my brothers were just starting to have kids at the time. And my one brother confronted my dad. We got to go. We're ending the show already. Oh shit. Okay, hold on. Let me wrap this up. But my brother confronted my dad saying, you're going to get lung cancer. Don't you want to be around for your grandkids? And there was a screaming match in my parents' kitchen. I don't remember what the family get together was. We were all together for some sort of event. And my dad just lost it. Don't you tell me what to do with my money, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, we're not criticizing your spending. We're saying about your unhealthy activity. And so I remember my brother just being so mad after that, saying, you know what, fuck it. If dad ends up getting lung cancer, I'm not going to feel sorry for him. I'm not. You bring it on yourself. Absolutely. If somebody's the victim of, let's say, rape or whatever, absolutely they're a victim. No question. And I'm not gonna go and say, oh, well, you should get back to work and blah, blah, blah. No, I get it. You've done this to yourself. You've traumatized. You've been killing your own body for all this time. Then that's the choice you make, bud. That's the choice you make. So if it gives you comfort in flocking to social media and airing every single fucking grievance that you have, go for it. Go for it. But what a life to live, ladies and gentlemen. What a life to live. I don't have the flashiest lifestyle. I wake up at like 10 o'clock, 10:30 most mornings. I might go to the bathtub, have some cheap $9 fizzy wine and make a mimosa, and that's kind of the start of my day. And there's times when I might even just lay around and do nothing all day, but I enjoy that. And I worked 15 years in syndicated radio to make a shit ton of money, to finally take that step back now and say, I'm going to slow down a little bit. I've earned that. I've earned it. And I do get bored. And so I will start a new project, or I'll do, look, my husband and I started a coffee line last July just for the hell of it. And we've got a men's swimwear line that I started 3 years ago just for the hell of it. And so we've got a shit ton of money coming in because we're ambitious and we like doing things like that. Absolutely, I'd be depressed if all I did was just sit on a couch all day and do sweet fuck all and comment on The Price is Right. Really? I mean, how are you going to get sympathy there? We got to go. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up The Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com. Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some